and just see right through all the craziness, which is so amazing. But yeah, there's also a lot of you who have been fake reporting, and every little thing I say or do is being analyzed and reviewed under a microscope. So I'm here to report the truth and just dive in.
At that point, we knew she was in a cult. All of the dancers that are currently in, all of the members that are still in, they are all victims.
What would you do if you were sued for telling the truth? If the person you reported on sat across from you in a courtroom and their lawyer told the judge you were a danger? Who makes things up? Today, I found out. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. This morning, I had to be in a courtroom in Minnesota. I was ordered to attend a pretrial hearing for a lawsuit that has been filed against me. The person suing me is a pastor and business owner named Robert Shinn, the central figure from the Netflix documentary series about his church, Shekinah, and his management company, 7M. He's suing me for defamation, claiming I spread falsehoods about him. His claims are stark. He says I defamed him by reporting on stories that played out publicly on social media. He says I defamed him by discussing court records that are available for anyone to see. And today, his attorney stood before a judge and said she needed to protect her client from me right there in the courtroom. She also told the judge, with total seriousness, that I have never cited a single source or provided any information about where I get my facts. That last part is categorically, undeniably false. And sitting there today, my overwhelming feeling wasn't fear about defamation. It was something else. It felt like this was about something much bigger than me or any single report. It felt like an attempt to chill the speech of an independent journalist, to intimidate someone who is raising public awareness about serious allegations against a powerful figure. I haven't accused him of anything myself. I've never been a member of his church. I've never been near him until today. My role has been to report what others have said, what court documents show, and what a major television network has produced. Being in that room, seeing him for the first time was surreal. I didn't realize how short he was. I didn't realize he wasn't much taller than me. I didn't realize he looks very much his age, which is in his late 60s. I knew on paper his wife, Hannah, was younger, but seeing them together, it was very obvious. She's around my age. I also saw Miranda Derrick and James Derrick in the flesh. For those who don't know, they deleted their Instagrams and TikTok last summer. They've largely vanished from the public eye they once cultivated. Today's hearing was specifically about something called spoliation of evidence. That's a legal term meaning the destruction or hiding of evidence. My legal team is concerned that the deletion of those social media accounts removed material that could be important for my defense. Their stated reason for deleting everything? They told the court I am the problem. That I have been harassing them by publicly covering a widely publicized story about a pastor in California. Let that sink in. They claim my reporting on a national news story is harassment. If you haven't seen the Netflix series, Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult, it was produced in connection with some major media companies and features family members of people involved, former members who were dancers, and other individuals connected to the group. You hear from people like Melanie Wilkerson, dancers like Kylie Douglas and Aubrey Fisher, and others like Kevin Davis and his girlfriend Kalia. You hear from sisters who left the church years apart. The series shows a group of these individuals coming together to sue Robert. It also shows where 3 of the women filed police reports against him, alleging serious physical violations. At no point in any of my reporting have I ever accused Robert Shinn of doing anything to me personally. He has never assaulted me. He has never harmed me. He has, in my view, only used the court system to accuse me of things I haven't done, in an effort to silence my voice. And in that courtroom today, I had a strange sense of déjà vu. It felt like I was watching a playbook I've seen before, in other high-profile cases where public figures sue critics. His attorney suggested that anything I say publicly from now on will be used against me as ongoing defamation. This, despite the fact I am only repeating and analyzing allegations made by others in very public forums. I worked as an archival consultant on that Netflix series. My job was to help document the claims being made by providing legal documents, records, and references to back up the stories people were telling. That series is a primary source. Robert Shinn is currently being sued in California by a group of former members. That lawsuit contains staggering accusations, counts of human trafficking, forced labor, coercion, fraud, and more. Since his attorney told a judge today, "I don't provide sources," let me read you a small part of what is contained in that public California lawsuit. The factual allegations state that Robert refers to himself as the man of God and preaches that without submitting to him and the church, members' lives will be cursed. It alleges he required full physical, economic, and lifestyle control over members, exerted through a hierarchy of mentors, often from his own family. It claims his wife was called the Woman of God, a title giving her special privileges. The lawsuit alleges these mentors did his bidding, collecting tithes, moving money from members' accounts, instructing them where to live and how to spend every moment. It says men and women were kept mostly separate, attending his sermons multiple times a week where he preached they should tell him everything, even things they wouldn't tell a spouse. It alleges Robert lives a life of luxury from these tithes, built on free labor and excessive fees, while members lived on small allowances, ate only church-approved food, and could only make approved purchases. The California lawsuit goes into deep financial detail. It alleges all members were required to give 10% of their income as a tithe to support the church. But if they didn't give, Robert would yell at them or threaten spiritual consequences. He allegedly encouraged giving more by saying, "The more you give, the more you'll receive. Tithe is the minimum. You must one day get to a place to give all of your money, time, and body and heart." They claim he told members, "If you don't tithe, you will not go to heaven. God hates people that don't tithe. Therefore, you are cursed and God cannot protect you from harm." The suit breaks down what it calls a three-part financial extraction: 10% tithe, 10% in cash directly to the man of God, which they believe was unreported income, and another 10% as an offering. It states Robert and other leaders said those committed to God donate 100% of their income to enter heaven. While claiming donations did God's work, Robert and the mentors allegedly lived lavishly, and the year-end tax documents given to members were inaccurate, missing thousands of dollars. Now, these are allegations from a civil lawsuit. They have to be proven at trial. But they are detailed, specific, and filed in a court of law. They are a source. The individual stories within that suit are, if taken as fact, harrowing. Alicia Lee, who is featured in the documentary, has some of the most detailed accusations. She alleges her entire life was controlled, where she lived, access to a car, the food she ate, the jobs she had because he was her employer. She further alleges he coerced her into a sexual relationship she calls assault. Her claims in the lawsuit include allegations of being pressured to have sex with another member for access to opportunities. Her counts against him and others include human trafficking, forced labor, fraud, and emotional distress. She alleges her liberty was restrained by a scheme where she was told disobedience would lead to serious harm. She even alleges that when she tried to leave, Robert's wife Hannah physically assaulted her. She went through official channels with the California Department of Labor and got a formal right-to-sue notice before filing. This is not a gossip blog post. This is a formal legal proceeding. Other plaintiffs in that case have overlapping stories with similar themes of control, isolation, and financial exploitation. The lawsuit collectively accuses them of human trafficking. They were supposed to go to trial last summer, but it was delayed. And here's the crucial context. While this massive California suit with these extreme allegations is active, Robert Shinn is also suing me in Minnesota for defamation. His attorney today said I have no sources. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm pointing to the people making the claims. I'm pointing to the lawsuit where they're made. I'm pointing to the Netflix series that dramatize them. I'm pointing to police reports. And I always state that he denies these allegations. The disconnect was jarring. It felt like I was in an upside-down world. This feeling intensified when, in July of 2025, the federal government executed a raid on Robert Shinn's property. News helicopters filmed it. Local and national news reported it. According to public statements and reports from outlets like the Los Angeles Times, the raid involved the IRS, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, the Department of Labor, and the FBI, with local SWAT support. It was related to investigations into alleged sex trafficking, mail fraud, pandemic-related fraud, and tax evasion. Robert's own attorneys in the California case have stated that 5 properties were raided, that 2 people in the case have received letters stating they are a target or subject of a federal investigation, and that $15,000 in cash was seized from Robert Shinn by the Postal Service. The government seized it under asset forfeiture laws, meaning they believe the cash is the proceeds of crime. A public forfeiture notice was published on a government website. Robert and Hannah petitioned to get their money back, and the government declined. They've now entered into a formal, stipulated agreement with federal prosecutors. The government must either file a civil forfeiture complaint or get a grand jury indictment that includes the forfeiture by April 2026. This is all documented in court records. A federal grand jury is, by all available evidence, actively investigating this case. So, let's recap the sources. A detailed civil lawsuit with multiple plaintiffs. A Netflix documentary. Public police reports. Widespread news coverage of a multi-agency federal raid. Official government forfeiture notices. Stipulations signed by federal prosecutors and Shinn's own lawyers acknowledging a grand jury investigation. And yet, in a Minnesota courtroom today, his attorney told a judge, "I have no sources, and that I am a danger." They are claiming my reporting itself is an ongoing smear campaign. The parallel was unmistakable. It's the exact same language and strategy used in other high-profile cases we've covered, where public figures try to reframe critical reporting as a malicious personal conspiracy. It's the Blake Lively playbook. It's the ongoing smear campaign narrative. They've now filed a new, amended complaint against me, threatening to add what they claim are 100 new defamatory statements I've made over the last year. But here's a critical point. Minnesota has a strong anti-SLAPP law. SLAPP stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. These are lawsuits meant not to win, but to burden a critic with endless legal costs until they give up and go silent. Statements I've made after May 2024 may be protected under this law, which exists to safeguard First Amendment rights on matters of public concern. The irony is profound. Robert Shinn has, in the past, used the First Amendment's protection of religious freedom as a defense in other lawsuits. For example, in a prior case brought by a woman named Lydia Chung, which alleged similar patterns of control and exploitation, the court's decision referenced issues of church autonomy and the First Amendment. Now, he is using the legal system in a way that threatens my First Amendment right to report on matters of undeniable public interest. I want to be clear about what this is and what it isn't. This lawsuit is not a good faith effort to correct the record. If it were, we'd be debating specific facts. Instead, it's a broad-based attack claiming everything I say is defamatory, even when it's quoting other people or court documents. It's a tool of intimidation. Sitting across from him today was difficult. Seeing Miranda and James Derrick, knowing the personal and professional turmoil they've endured, was heavy. But leaving that courtroom, I had a very clear feeling. I am not scared of him. I am not scared of his wife. And I am certainly not scared of Miranda and James. My genuine hope for Miranda and James is that they find peace and can rebuild their careers doing what they love. I want to be explicit. They are not the subjects of this federal investigation. The focus is elsewhere. My hope is for a just resolution. If the federal investigation finds evidence of crimes, I hope indictments are pursued. If the plaintiffs in California have suffered as they claim, I hope they find justice in court. And I hope a Minnesota judge will see this lawsuit for what it is and uphold my right, and the right of any journalist, to report on newsworthy legal battles and serious public allegations without being sued into silence. This fight matters. It's not really about me versus Robert Shinn. It's about whether powerful individuals can use the courts to shut down reporting they don't like. It's about whether discussing public lawsuits and federal investigations can be branded as defamation. If they succeed against me, they can do it to anyone. That's why I'm not backing down. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep reporting. Because the story here isn't just about one man or one church. It's about how we hold power accountable in a society that values free speech. I also have to be transparent with you all. Fighting this is expensive. Legal fees for a case like this are staggering. So, if you value independent journalism that isn't afraid to cover difficult stories, and if you have the means, I've included links in the description to my Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Any contribution helps ensure I can continue this fight without being financially buried. Your support means more than I can say. I want to leave you with this thought from today. In that courtroom, I witnessed a strategy that's becoming a textbook move. Reframe the narrative. Take the person reporting on allegations and paint them as the aggressor. Take the documented sources, lawsuits, police reports, federal actions, and call them no sources. It's a playbook designed to confuse, to exhaust, and to ultimately silence. But here's what they don't count on: people seeing through it. They don't count on an audience that understands the difference between reporting an allegation and making one. They don't count on people who recognize a slap suit for what it is. They don't count on the resilience that comes from knowing you're on the right side of the truth. This experience has been challenging, but it has also crystallized my purpose. We have to be able to talk about things that matter, especially when they involve allegations as serious as human trafficking and systemic abuse. We have to be able to question power. And we cannot let legal intimidation become the default off switch for public discussion. I am in this for the long haul. I will keep you updated on every step of this case. Your engagement, your comments, your shares, they all send a powerful message that people are watching and that this kind of intimidation tactic won't just be ignored. So, I want to hear from you. What's your take on all of this? Have you followed the Netflix series or the other cases? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's have a real conversation about it. If you want to support this channel and this kind of in-depth, risk-taking reporting, please give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the algorithm show it to others who need to see it. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates as this story develops. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for your time, your attention, and your support. It's what makes this possible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.